A female employee with developmental disabilities works in the same department as I do. She was harassed severely by our boss, prompting me to defend her, something I hadn't anticipated would result in such harsh treatment. My name is John. I'm employed in the planning and sales department of a machinery manufacturing company. Emma. Hey, Emma. Oh, yes. What is it? After several attempts to capture her attention, a female employee responds. Her name is Emma, and she's my junior colleague. Emma, this is an important document, isn't it? It was left on the copier. Oh, sorry. Thank you. This exchange is just one of many today. Emma often makes the same mistakes for a reason. She has a developmental disorder and tends to forget things. This is why she frequently leaves documents behind, as she did this time. However, her focus on work surpasses anyone else's, and she has been a great help to us on multiple occasions. If you're carrying documents, it might be a good idea to keep them in your bag. Yes, I'll remember that. Emma is diligent and honest, so my colleagues and I often support her. Except for one person. Hey John, come here. A man calls out to me, irritation in his voice. It's Mr. Anderson, our department head. Visibly upset, he beckons me. I have a rough idea of why. You need to be stricter with Emma. It's your lenient training that's hindering her progress. But she has a disability. I attempt to reason with him, but Mr. Anderson insists on being hard on Emma. In fact, he holds a low opinion of women in the workplace. Women should just stay at home and take care of the house. Many female employees have left our department due to his attitude, which involves frequent harassment. The severe lectures and demeaning comments were excessive, often reducing many women to tears. With so many departures, you would expect an investigation into the department, but oddly, that has never happened. Now, Emma is his target. It infuriates me that she thinks having a disability gives her special privileges. What if I claim to have a disability? Could I then do whatever I please? I try to pacify Mr. Anderson, finding his remarks problematic. I'll take good care of her, so please be lenient this time. I manage to convince him and return to my seat. Of course, I hope Emma can be more mindful about forgetting things, but the most crucial improvement needed is in Mr. Anderson's attitude and mindset. Then, one day, an incident occurs. Emma misses a meeting with a key client. The client is highly displeased and considers canceling all future business with us. See, nothing good comes with her around. Mr. Anderson blames Emma, leaving her completely frightened. Emma, why did you miss the meeting? You usually note it in your schedule. But Mr. Anderson said he would attend instead and told me not to come. Upon hearing her words, I seek clarification. Apparently, Mr. Anderson had informed Emma a few days prior that her presence at the meeting was unnecessary. She was excluded because he disapproved of women being too assertive. Her schedule indeed reflects this. Mr. Anderson, weren't you supposed to attend today's meeting? I confronted him, showing him Emma's schedule. Apparently, he had forgotten about it himself, as his face turned pale. Please stop pushing your mistakes onto your subordinates. She just followed your instructions. I was fed up with everything that had happened and spoke out strongly. But the response I got was shocking. Even so, this can be used as an excuse to fire Emma. I can just say she made up those notes herself and twist the story however I want. What was this man even saying? Trying to save his own skin by making a subordinate take the blame. And for someone completely innocent, no less. I had reached my limit. Before I knew it, I had thrown the coffee from Mr. Anderson's desk onto him. What the hell are you doing? That's my line. Do you even realize what you're trying to do? Our commotion had by now caused a stir among the others. Having gone this far, there was no turning back. but I couldn't stand by and watch Emma be unjustly fired over such unfairness. I was prepared to lose my job as I confronted Mr. Anderson. "I'm the head of this department. Don't criticize my decisions. No, if you're wrong, I will speak up." My attitude must have been disagreeable to Mr. Anderson. His face turned red with anger. Mr. Anderson said he would talk to HR and had me fired. At this point, it was just astonishing. It was his mistake in the first place, yet he was so quick to deflect blame onto others. I thought HR would understand if I explained everything. But reality was more cruel than I had imagined. "I've heard from Mr. Anderson. It seems you've been disrupting the harmony of the department." "What? What do you mean?" I was at a loss for words at HR Manager Michael's accusation. Disrupting the department's harmony. This was completely unfounded. Michael said that Mr. Anderson reported I was slacking off at work and repeatedly harassing other employees. That's nonsense. If you ask the other employees, they'll tell you. I tried to persuade him, but Mr. Anderson interrupted and I was forcibly removed. Outside the room, I confronted Mr. Anderson. "It's a lesson for those who oppose me. If I say it, even false information will be believed by that Michael." Mr. Anderson smirked as he said this. It turned out that Michael was Mr. Anderson's junior from their college days and would believe anything he said. In the end, my actions were utterly futile. I was left with nothing but despair. Back at the department, Emma approached me, looking downcast. "Thank you for standing up for me, and I'm really sorry for causing you trouble." "No, Emma, you did nothing wrong. I just did what anyone should do." What I did wasn't wrong. Even if it played into Mr. Anderson's hands, there's no shame in my actions. If my sacrifice could protect Emma, even for a short time, it wasn't all bad. I reassured myself. No matter what happens, I can be proud of what I did. The next day, as expected, I received my termination notice. I wasn't fired, but I was demoted and transferred to another department. My income would decrease, but at least I wouldn't starve. That was a small consolation. Reassuring myself with these thoughts, I finished preparing for the transfer and said my goodbyes. This is what happens when you defy me. Your sacrifice has probably made it clear to everyone that no one can oppose me now. You did a good job for me. Mr. Anderson mocked me with a triumphant smirk. I briefly greeted him and left the place. Then, Emma chased after me. "John, it's because of me that you're being transferred, isn't it? It's not your fault. The problem was the other party." I smiled at her, trying to reassure her. I was genuinely worried about what would happen after I left. Knowing Mr. Anderson, he would surely continue to pressure her and force her to resign. While Emma had her challenges, she was an essential part of the team. "Emma, no matter what happens, believe in yourself and don't give up, okay?" Leaving her with those words, I left the company. The next day, I went to my new department. It was a cleaning team in a factory, and the only other member was an elderly lady named Michelle Upshaw. I couldn't help but smile bitterly at the obvious demotion. "I've heard a lot about you. As long as you work hard, I have no complaints. Welcome aboard." It felt like a warning of some sort. Probably, she had been fed some not-so-flattering information about me. Regardless, I focused on learning the ropes and doing my job. For someone used to desk work like me, this physically demanding job was quite a challenge. But working hard and feeling useful was not a bad feeling. Michelle was helpful and patient, which made settling into the job easier. To think that there are departments like this in the company, and Michelle has been managing it alone all this time. Experiencing a different side of the company helped me see things I hadn't noticed before. In the end, it turned out to be a good experience for me. Several weeks after my transfer, on a typical day at work, I completed my tasks as usual. Then, during my lunch break, Michelle approached me. "John, you work very diligently. You're nothing like what I was told." "What exactly were you told about me?" From our conversation, it turned out that I had been portrayed as a problematic employee with poor behavior. She was told I was sent here for rehabilitation, and she braced herself for the arrival of a troublesome character. However, once I started working, I performed my tasks as instructed and actively asked questions whenever I didn't understand something. "I can't believe you're the problem employee they described. Is there more to your story?" In response to Michelle's question, I hesitated about telling the truth, but then figured there was nothing particularly secret about it. So I decided to share the whole story. Michelle listened to my story in silence, nodding along as I spoke. After I finished explaining everything, she let out a sigh and said, "Can this company really be okay with someone like that in a managerial position?" I completely agreed with her sentiment. Judging matters based on personal feelings and discarding necessary talent. If someone like Mr. Anderson, who seems to mistake the organization for his toys, is put at the head of a department, I can see the people under him having a hard time. This made me worry about Emma and the rest of my former team. But you, John, are remarkable. Standing up to your boss to protect your subordinate is commendable. It's hard to understand why someone like you had to face such treatment. Michelle's words, acknowledging my efforts amidst the hardship, brought tears to my eyes. I felt like all the emotions I had been holding back were finally being released. I'm worried about everyone back in the department, especially Emma. Under Mr. Anderson, they might just end up following his orders, and Emma could suffer even more. I wish there was some way I could help them. The bond and mutual support we had shared made me feel this way even more. After hearing my story, Michelle fell silent for a while. "That's right. We can't let such injustice go unaddressed." After hearing my story, Michelle said she wanted to take care of the matter herself. She offered to talk to the higher-ups on my behalf, but I refused, feeling I couldn't impose such a burden on her. However, Michelle was persistent and wouldn't back down. "Even if it's President Thompson, I believe he'll listen to an old lady's words." She said this with a smile, which somehow felt reassuring. Not knowing exactly what she planned to do, but feeling like there were no other options, I decided to accept Michelle's offer. The next day, as I arrived at work as usual, Michelle called out to me, "John, your job isn't here today, and you won't need to come back here from tomorrow." Confused, I asked her what she meant, and she just smiled and told me to go to the head office. Apparently, Mr. Thompson had personally issued an order for me to return to the planning and sales department. Could it be that Michelle, "Just go on, and don't ever come back here, all right?" She sent me off with a warm smile, and I thanked her before heading to the head office. "John, why are you here?" The first to approach me was Emma. Her exclamation drew the attention of other department members, who came over. When I announced that I had been reassigned back to this department, everyone was delighted. Of course, there was one exception. "Why are you here? You were demoted." Mr. Anderson, clearly surprised and upset by my return, approached me angrily. "You don't belong here. Get back to where you were sent." Even after I explained about the reassignment, Mr. Anderson refused to listen, insisting he set the rules here. At this point, I couldn't help but see him as nothing more than a pitiful middle-aged man. It was while I was pondering this that something happened. A man dressed in an elegant suit arrived. It was Mr. Thompson, the man who had ordered my return. "Mr. Thompson, what brings you to this place?" Mr. Anderson's attitude flipped, trying to ingratiate himself with Mr. Thompson. Everyone, including me, watched him with disbelief. "What seems to be the problem here? You appear unhappy with my decision. Speak up." Mr. Anderson fell silent at Mr. Thompson's words. He couldn't defy someone in a higher position than himself. But Mr. Thompson continued, unfazed. I've heard about your actions. You've been quite reckless with your position, haven't you? That is, Mr. Anderson tried to explain, but Mr. Thompson spoke about his harassment and misuse of power. His voice was calm, but his eyes weren't smiling. It was clear he was angry. Furthermore, it was revealed that Mr. Anderson had been embezzling funds by manipulating sales figures. Do you think you're the one we don't need in this department? I'm sorry, I apologize. Mr. Anderson apologized, his face pale. But obviously, an apology couldn't undo his actions. Anyone can apologize. What you need to do now is something different. Perhaps, prepare to leave the company with your belongings. Mr. Anderson turned pale at Mr. Thompson's words. Desperately apologizing, he begged not to be fired. Ignoring Mr. Anderson's pleas, President Thompson walked over to me. I've heard about you from my mother. We need someone as diligent as you in our company. Mr. Thompson said this with a smile. When I asked who his mother was, it turned out that Michelle was Mr. Thompson's mother. Originally an employee of the company, Mr. Thompson married the daughter of the previous owner, who had taken a liking to him. Since he was also expected to be the successor, he became a son-in-law, which is why he and Michelle had different surnames. You have a great capacity for judgment, not based on superficial appearances but on the substance within. I would like you to lead the planning and sales department going forward. Mr. Thompson's words, filled with trust, were very reassuring. Thus, I was appointed as the head of the department. Meanwhile, Mr. Anderson was immediately fired and faced legal troubles for embezzlement. That night, I called Michelle to express my gratitude. John, you're not the kind of person to be crushed by something like this. I want you to believe in yourself and aim high. I will never forget this favor. Thank you so much, I said to Michelle. She smiled and encouraged me with a gentle push on my back. Months later, I was thriving as the head of the planning and sales department. Initially, I had my doubts, but the support of my team members, who worked tirelessly, helped me overcome the challenges. Emma, you're doing great. Your sales performance this month is outstanding, I complimented her. Thank you, but it's all thanks to the support from you and everyone else, Emma responded. She was tackling her job while dealing with her disability. My advice on how to leverage and extend her impressive focus resulted in significant improvement in her performance. Our clients, witnessing her dedication and effort despite her challenges, offered their support. This just proves that gender or disabilities don't matter. There are definitely many people who can excel while facing their own challenges. Despite the previous pressure from Mr. Anderson, which had made it difficult for female employees to join the department, I was determined to change that. Committed to creating an environment where all team members, regardless of gender, could thrive and support each other, I continued to walk the path of action, matching my words. I revised the employee training policy, focusing on how to develop each individual's unique strengths. Observing from various perspectives and implementing these changes led to tangible results, and the department began to show a lively and productive atmosphere. Your appointment as the head has led to improved performance. Indeed, placing you in this position was the right decision. Having gained his trust and recognized for my ability to develop talent, I was promoted to the Human Resources Department. My new task was to identify and nurture young talents who would carry the company's future. Though I had once faced unjust treatment, my persistence and refusal to give in led me to where I am now. My belief in myself and my actions had brought me to this point. I vowed to continue living without bending my principles, staying true to my convictions. My name is Ethan. Actually, today I married the love of my life, and we officially became husband and wife. My wife's name is Sophia. Even when I turned 30, I had no desire to marry and vaguely felt that I might remain single for life. Sophia was the one who changed my heart in an instant. Today, I'd like to share an unbelievable story that Sophia told me. This story goes back 8 years. It was when Sophia was 20 years old. Due to family circumstances, Sophia didn't go to college but started working at 18. She worked as an office clerk at a general company. That's where she met Nathan, a man 1 year older than her. As colleagues who hit it off well, they quickly started dating and married when Sophia turned 20. They didn't have a child or anything, and even though their parents opposed it, saying it was too early, they went ahead with the marriage. Sophia said he was her first boyfriend. However, soon after their marriage, Nathan was transferred and started working night shifts, leading to a life of passing each other by. Even when Sophia cooked and waited up all night, Nathan would come home in the middle of the night, skip meals, and go straight to bed, or vice versa. Sophia would come home tired, go to bed, and they couldn't spend time together, leading to constant arguments. This mismatch led to their divorce when Sophia was 23. I would never marry again. She thought so. After that, Sophia dedicated herself to her work, overcoming the handicap of being a high school graduate and moving beyond a clerical role to take on significant responsibilities as a general staff member. In her early 20s, she had no interest in romance, just commuting between work and home. Her best friend and parents worried, saying, "You're still young, why not find someone?" At that time, Sophia wasn't listening to such advice. But perhaps this was to prepare her for the challenges that were to come, as Sophia said. When Sophia turned 26, a friend whom she hadn't seen for years called her out of the blue. It was Michael, a male friend she met with Nathan in her early 20s. She hadn't seen him since her divorce, feeling awkward, but this time, she answered the phone, feeling nostalgic. "Hello, Sophia, it's been a while." Michael on the other end of the line started speaking in a calm voice. He used to be the lively, joking type, but perhaps he had matured with age. Sophia thought so. But the next words from Michael turned Sophia's world upside down. "Nathan has leukemia and is hospitalized." Sophia, not familiar with illnesses, recognized it as a disease she had heard of. She remembered seeing on TV that many people suffer from it. But since the divorce, she had never contacted Nathan. So why did Michael contact her about this? "I know there's a lot going on, but I want you to go see him," Michael said. "But why now? I don't think Nathan would be happy to see me. We're divorced and it wasn't exactly a pleasant separation." The reason for their divorce was increasing arguments, and even Sophia herself didn't think it ended well. "That's not true. He still loves you, always has." Michael's words took Sophia by surprise. She lost her words. "We were young back then, said things we didn't mean, and ended up parting ways, but he's always regretted it. He told me never to tell you, but seeing him in such pain, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore." Michael said this and sent Sophia the hospital's address. After hanging up, Sophia was stunned and took a while to process everything. But she remembered, he was once a loved one, despite her current feelings being gone. Sophia thought if there was anything she could do, she should visit Nathan in the hospital. It was their first meeting in 4 years. Feeling a bit nervous, she opened the door to his hospital room. Upon opening the door to the private room, there was a frail man wearing a knit cap, sitting on the bed and looking out the window. Even though Sophia knew Nathan was in this room, she initially didn't recognize him because he looked so different from the man she knew. He noticed the sound and turned around. His face was unmistakably Nathan's. "Nathan," as Sophia muttered. Nathan widened his eyes in disbelief and said, "Sophia, why are you here?" His voice, not sounding particularly happy, made Sophia think, Maybe he's just bothered by my visit. She decided to leave the fruits and flowers she brought, chat briefly, and then leave early. She thought so. However, after a moment of silence, Nathan urged her to sit on the chair next to the bed. Then he joked, "I've lost a lot of weight, right?" Surprised. Seeing his smile, Sophia felt a wave of nostalgia and struggled to hold back her tears. All she could do was nod slightly. "Did he ask you to come see me?" He was referring to Michael, who had called Sophia. "Yes, that's right." I was shocked. Sophia managed to say, "I see, thanks. I heard you're busy with work now, right?" Nathan tried to keep the conversation light, and gradually, Sophia's tension eased, leading them to chat about what had happened in their lives since they last met. Sophia remembered that she used to love spending time talking and laughing with Nathan, something she had completely forgotten as their relationship soured in the year leading up to their divorce. "I haven't laughed this much in a long time." As she was leaving, Sophia inadvertently said this to Nathan. Nathan looked surprised for a moment but then smiled and said, "Well, that's great." After that, Sophia started visiting Nathan's hospital room on her own initiative, not because anyone asked her to. Even though she was busy with work, she made sure to visit every 3 days. "Sophia, when you come to see me, it gives me strength," Nathan would say, and while Sophia certainly wanted to cheer him up, she herself also started feeling the desire to spend as much time with him as possible. However, about a year after she started visiting him in the hospital, "I've got about 6 months left," Nathan, laughing weakly, told Sophia this. Despite the gravity of the situation, Sophia tearfully said to Nathan, who was trying to maintain a smile, "You don't have to laugh in front of me. Don't push yourself. You don't need to be considerate. Just be yourself, Nathan." She embraced him unconsciously as she spoke. Yet Nathan did not stop smiling. "It's not a burden. The fact that you've come to see me again is the happiest thing for me. I can help but smile." Hearing this, Sophia's tears flowed even more. "I've always regretted it. I took for granted that you were always there, waiting up late to serve me a warm meal after my late shifts, falling asleep on the sofa while waiting to greet me. I knew you cared about me, but I became complacent. I didn't realize how happy I was." Nathan's words made Sophia recall those times too. Sophia felt the same regret and desire to apologize. She had only been avoiding those memories to prevent further hurt. "Thank you for coming to see me again," Nathan said. Wiping her tears, Sophia smiled and nodded. However, 3 months later, Sophia, busy with work and unable to visit Nathan for 4 days, entered his hospital room. Not only was Nathan gone, but his belongings were also missing. When she asked the nurse what had happened, the unbelievable words came. "He passed away 2 days ago." Nathan's condition had worsened suddenly during the night. The nurses tried to contact Sophia, but Nathan's family, who had arrived earlier, said there was no need to contact someone who was divorced from him, and they refused to allow it. They took his body away soon after his passing. Sophia visited Nathan's parents' house, but after the divorce, they apparently moved away immediately, and they were not there anymore. It was completely impossible to get in touch with Nathan's parents. Sophia couldn't even spend Nathan's last moments with him, let alone see his body to say goodbye or visit his grave. A senior nurse who came later handed Sophia an envelope while she was breaking down in tears. The envelope was addressed to Sophia. It was unmistakably written in Nathan's handwriting. Inside was a letter to Sophia. "To Sophia, it's been a long time since I wrote a letter, maybe since our first anniversary when we were just 20. Nostalgic, but now's not the time for such memories. If you're reading this, I guess I'm already gone. It's pretty lonely, but thanks to you, Sophia, I've had a truly happy life. This is true. Honestly, until you came, I thought it was pretty unlucky to get sick so young. But if I hadn't gotten sick, I wouldn't have been able to meet you again. talk to you, or apologize. In a way, it was a good thing. I wish I could have spent more time with you, but that's not possible now. I just wanted to tell you this at the end. Thank you so much, Sophia. The time I spent with you before and after our marriage, and even after we met again following our divorce, was incredibly happy. I want you to be even happier from now on, so please forget about me. It's frustrating that I couldn't make you happy myself, but as long as you're happy, that's enough. I love you. Thank you. From Nathan. Sophia couldn't finish reading the letter for a while as she was crying so much. She often regretted not noticing his health changes earlier, thinking if they hadn't divorced, he might not have died. She often regretted it, thinking if things had been different, but you can't change reality. She kept the letter in her desk drawer and tried to live a normal life. That's when I met Sophia. My first impression of Sophia, whom I met as a client at work, was that she was a capable and considerate woman. My name is Ethan. Nice to meet you. I said that and handed over my business card, just like I do with any other client. Sophia said. Wondering if I had said something strange, I asked, "Pardon?" But Sophia quickly regained her composure, introduced herself with a smile, and handed me her business card. I, being nearly 30 with some career experience, managed my work somehow, though I was never very efficient. I remember thinking how wonderful Sophia was for her meticulous care and attention. However, that was just my impression in a professional context. But that afternoon, by chance, I saw Sophia crying. It was in a vacant space between staircases where I often took breaks, a place I liked because you could see the sky from the window. As usual, when I went there, I found Sophia crying. "Are you okay?" I was surprised to see her crying, as she had been smiling and energetic just a moment ago. And I thought her tears were incredibly beautiful. It's weird, isn't it? I had never thought something like that before. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm okay." Sophia, flustered, tried to leave the spot, but stumbled and fell. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you." I apologized and reached out to help her up. Surprised by my approach, Sophia said, "Thank you," but then she started crying again. "I'm sorry, just remembered some things." Despite having something so painful that made her want to cry, I admired how she could work so efficiently and keep a smile. At the same time, I felt an unfamiliar emotion welling up inside me. "I'll be going now. Thank you very much." As Sophia stood up and started to walk away, I realized I was saying something surprising even to myself. "Will you marry me?" I said to a woman I had just met that day. Sophia turned around with a very surprised look. "Of course." But I later learned that Sophia's surprise had another reason, one that I hadn't even imagined. In the end, she politely declined my sudden marriage proposal, saying, "Marrying all of a sudden is a bit much." But we started seeing each other as friends, and 6 months later, we began dating. And today, 1 year since we first met, we truly registered our marriage. It doesn't feel much like a honeymoon since we've been living together for months, huh? Sophia said, sitting opposite me at the dining table, and laughed. That's true. A few months ago, when I formally proposed, Sophia told me in detail about her past and about the first time we met. You might not believe it, but I think I knew we were going to meet even before I met. Sophia said that. What do you mean? I asked her, intrigued by the strange words that came from Sophia, who was not joking. The morning I was to meet you, I had a dream. My former husband appeared in it, looking a bit sad, but peaceful, and he said, "Today, you will have an important encounter. That person will surely make you happy." It was hard to believe, but I knew Sophia wasn't the kind of person to lie, and there was no need for her to fabricate such a story. So I believed her. I asked, "What do you mean?" many times, but my former husband wouldn't answer. But in the end, he only told me the person's name, and that name was mine. I myself found it hard to believe, and I didn't remember it vividly, but when I heard your name, I was so surprised. Yet, I was incredibly happy. That's why, even though I was at work, I couldn't stop crying and hid away to weep. Then, when you suddenly proposed to me, I was shocked, but I thought this connection was something I absolutely couldn't let go of. Sophia said this with a shy smile as she accepted my proposal. Sophia's beloved Nathan, who passed away at a younger age than me. I never met Nathan, but like him, I have an unchanging desire to see Sophia happy. I will definitely make Sophia happy in our life ahead. That's the only thing I can do for Nathan. And the only thing I can do for Sophia, who has carried such heavy burdens alone. I vowed to never forget this as I build a happy home with Sophia.